Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janvalabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janvalabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jai Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braj Janaranjana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jai Braj Janaranjana Jaya Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravana Chare Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Jai Radha Madhava, Madhava Radhe. Jai Radha Madhava, Madhava Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhav ki, Chila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki. इंग्लिश भागवत और इंग्लिश गीता भी बाद में लिखना. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Hare Krishna. Very nice to be here in Dwarka Dham. So thank you. The Dham of Sri Rukmini Dwarkadesh. So today we're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 24, Renunciation of Garda Muni, Text 42. तीसरा कैंटो 24वां अध्याय टेक्स्ट 42 व्रतं स आस्थितो मौनं व्रतं स आस्थितो मौनं आत्मैक शरणो मुनि आत्मैक शरणो मुनि निस्संगो व्यचरत् क्षोणी निस्संगो व्यचरत् क्षोणीम् अनग्नेरनिकेतना अनग्नेरनिकेतना व्रतं स आस्थितो मौनम् आत्मैक शरणो मुनि निस्संगो व्यचरत् क्षोणीम् अनग्नेरनिकेतना व्रतं स आस्थितो मौनम् आत्मैक शरणो मुनि निसंगो व्यचरत् क्षोणिम् अनग्निरनिकेतना व्रतं स आस्थितो मौनम् आत्मैका शरणो मुनि निसंगो व्यचरत् क्षोणिम् अनग्निरनिकेतना व्रतं स आस्थितो मौनम् आत्मैका शरणो मुनि निसंगो व्यचरत् क्षोणिम् अनग्निरनिकेतना। माता जी, व्रतं स आस्थितो मौनम् आत्मैका शरणो मुनि निसंगो व्यचरत् क्षोणिम् अनग्निरनिकेतना। व्रतं vow, सह ही कर्दमा, आस्थिता accepted, maunam silence, atma by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, eka exclusively, sharana being sheltered, muni the sage, nisanga without association, vyachara he traveled, kshonim the earth, anagni without fire, aniketana without shelter. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada की। आप हिंदी में अनुवाद पढ़ने चाहते हैं?
अनुवाद इस प्रकार से है। कर्दम मुनि ने मौन व्रत धारण करना स्वीकार किया, जिससे पूर्ण पुरुषोत्तम भगवान का चिंतन कर सकें और एकमात्र उन्हीं की शरण में जा सकें। बिना किसी संगी के वे सन्यासी रूप में पृथ्वी भर में भ्रमण करने लगे। अग्नि अथवा आश्रय से उनका कोई संबंध ना रहा। तात्पर्य, अनग्निर्निकेतनः शब्द अत्यंत सार्थक है। सन्यासी को अग्नि तथा आवासीय मकानों से पूर्णतया विरक्त होना चाहिए। गृहस्थ को अग्नि की आवश्यकता यज्ञ करने या भोजन पकाने के लिए होती है, किंतु सन्यासी को इन दोनों कार्यों से छुट्टी मिल जाती है। कृष्ण भावनामृत में लगे रहने के कारण सन्यासी को ना तो भोजन पकाना पड़ता है, ना ही यज्ञ करना होता है, क्योंकि वह पहले ही समस्त धार्मिक अनुष्ठान पूरा कर चुका होता है। अनिकेतनः का अर्थ है बिना किसी आवास के। उसके पास अपना मकान नहीं होना चाहिए, वरन उसे अपने भोजन तथा आवास के लिए पूर्णतः भगवान पर आश्रित रहना चाहिए। उसे भ्रमण करना चाहिए। मौन का अर्थ है चुप्पी। जब तक मनुष्य चुप मौन नहीं रहता, तब तक वह भगवान की लीलाओं के विषय में पूरी तरह सोच नहीं पाता। इसका यह अर्थ नहीं है कि मूर्ख होने तथा ना बोल सकने के कारण मौन व्रत लिया जाता है, अपितु मनुष्य को मौन धारण करना पड़ता है, जिससे लोग उसे तंग ना कर सकें। चाणक्य पंडित ने कहा है कि धूर्त जब तक बोलता नहीं अत्यंत बुद्धिमान प्रतीत होता है। बोलना ही असली परीक्षा है। निर्गुणिया मौन यह बताता है कि उसके पास कहने को कुछ नहीं है, वह केवल भीख मांगना चाहता है। किंतु कर्दम मुनि ने ऐसा मौन नहीं किया। वे तो अनर्गल बातों से मुक्ति पाने के लिए मौन रहे। जब मनुष्य गंभीर बनकर अनर्गल बातें नहीं करता, तो वह मुनि कहलाता है। महाराज अम्बरीश ने अच्छा उदाहरण प्रस्तुत किया था। जब भी वे बोलते तो भगवान की लीलाओं के विषय में बोलते। मौन के लिए अनिवार्य है कि बकवास से बचा जाए और बोलने की शक्ति को भगवान की लीलाओं में लगाया जाए। इस प्रकार अपना जीवन सफल बनाने के लिए मनुष्य भगवान का जप तथा श्रवण कर सकता है। व्रतम का अभिप्राय है संकल्प करना, जैसा कि भगवत गीता में बताया गया है। अमानित्वम अदम्भत्वम, अपने सम्मान की परवाह किए बिना तथा अपने पद का गर्व किए बिना। अहिंसा का अर्थ है हिंसक ना बनना। ज्ञान तथा सिद्धि प्राप्त करने की 18 विधियां हैं और कर्दम मुनि ने व्रत के द्वारा आत्म साक्षात्कार के सिद्धांतों को ग्रहण किया है।
ओम ज्ञानम तिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. The sage Kardama accepted silence as a vow in order to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and take shelter of Him exclusively. Without association, he traveled over the surface of the globe as a sannyasi, devoid of any relationship with fire or shelter. So here Kardama Muni is being described, his wonderful qualities. And the first word of this verse is vratam, or vow. This shlok ka jo pehla shabd hai wo vratam hai, vow. So Srila Prabhupada explains that a devotee's vow is his ornament. Uska abhushan, uski pradigya, uska vrat hai. Different people have different ornaments. Ladies have jewelry, bangles. The king has his crown. The millionaire has his Mercedes. So what is the ornament of a devotee? भक्त का जो आभूषण है वो क्या है? What is the ornament of a devotee? His vrata, his vow. Yes, this is his vow. So vows are very important in a devotee's life. इसलिए आप देखिए सब चीज़ जो हम लोग करते हैं उसको व्रत के तौर से करते हैं, व्रत बनाते हैं. We take vows. हम लोग बहुत मेहनत करते हैं कि हम लोग दीक्षा लें. हम लोग कोई गुरु से शुद्ध भक्त से दीक्षा लें. क्यों? बिकॉज़ उस टाइम हम लोग व्रत लेते हैं. We take a vow that we will chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. We take a vow that we'll follow the 4 regulated principles every day. We take a vow that we will eat Krishna Prasadam only every day. So why these vows? Because in these vows, in practicing these vows, in fulfilling these vows, we can get the mercy of the Lord. Right? We can see the Lord through the practice, through the fulfillment of these vows. So here even Karda Muni, who is the father of Vamandev, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even he, to give us an example, is taking a vow, the vow of silence, the vow of Mauna. So Srila Prabhupada explains that this vow for a devotee is why is it so important? Because like when we chant in the morning, we chant our 16 rounds every day, then our mind goes here and there. Man idhar udhar jata hai, man bhatakta hai. और प्रभुपाद जी हम लोग को बताते थे कि हम लोग को बहुत मन से, बहुत ध्यान से माला करना चाहिए. लेकिन अक्सर हम लोग नहीं करते हैं. वैसे हम लोग के ज़्यादातर हम लोग नहीं करते हैं, राइट? लेकिन प्रभुपाद जी कहते थे, उनका एक बहुत अच्छा एक लेक्चर है जहाँ वो कहते हैं कि कृष्णा सीज कि एटलीस्ट यू आर ट्राइंग टू कंप्लीट योर वाव. मन भटका, आपने ठीक से माला नहीं किया, लेकिन एटलीस्ट आपने 16 माला कर लिया. तो 16 माला करने से भगवान खुश है कि एटलीस्ट यू हैव फुलफिल्ड योर वाव, यू हैव फुलफिल्ड योर प्रॉमिस. एंड देयरफॉर this devotee is very sincere, this devotee is trying to satisfy me. So by fulfilling the vow, by fulfilling the promise, then Prabhupada and Krishna are very happy. अलग-अलग भक्त प्रभुपाद जी के पास आते थे और कहते थे कि प्रभुपाद जी हम अपनी माला नहीं कर पा रहे इस कारण के द्वारा, इस कारण के मारे हम नहीं कर पा रहे अपनी माला. I'm not able to chant Prabhupada because I have this problem or that problem. तो प्रभुपाद जी सुनते थे, लेकिन जो प्रभुपाद जी के शिष्य थे, they're his disciples, they used to say that Prabhupada would not accept any of these excuses. वो उसको मतलब एक्सेप्ट नहीं करते थे. कभी कभी वेरी रेयर सर्कमस्टांस, कोई भक्त बहुत बीमार है या कोई भक्त के पास बहुत ज़्यादा बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट सेवा है तो वो कोई कंसेशन दे देते थे. वेरी रेयरली, लेकिन जनरली स्पीकिंग श्रील प्रभुपाद कोई एक्सक्यूज़ नहीं एक्सेप्ट करते थे. वो कहते थे, ही प्रॉमिस्ड इन फ्रंट ऑफ द फायर, he promised in front of the spiritual master, he promised in front of the deities, he promised in front of the devotees, and now you're breaking your promise. He said, only a fool, only the most fallen does not keep their vow, their promise. Right? But जो वामन देव, and this is very interesting कि यहाँ पर कर्दम मुनि के बारे में बात हो रही है. So when Vamandev, he goes to Bali Maharaj. Vamandev is the son of Karda Muni. Or he goes to Bali Maharaj. Then Bali Maharaj, he promises to Vamandev 3 steps of land. He says, I promise you that I'll give you 3 steps of land. So at that time, immediately at that point, Shukracharya, the spiritual master of Bali Maharaj, understands that Vamandev is Lord Vishnu who has come. And he's come to take everything away. So at that moment, Shukracharya tells Bali Maharaj, he says that don't fulfill this promise. You've made a great mistake. This boy is none other than Narayan, Lord Vishnu, who has come on behalf of Lord Indra to take everything away from you. Or as a spiritual master, Bali Maharaj gives many reasons, very important reasons, why in this situation you can break your vow. He says, a person for his livelihood can break his vow. To flatter a woman can break his vow. to save his life, he can break his vow. So these are different situations. You can break your vow because this person will take away your livelihood. And furthermore, Shukracharya इतने powerful थे, वो त्रिकालदर्शी थे, आगे भी देख सकते थे. Exactly उन्होंने बता दिया क्या होएगा. Verbatim, he told him what is going to happen. He said कि you should not fulfill your promise because even this promise you will not be able to fulfill. So people will call you a cheater. The promise that you have made to give 3 steps of land, even that promise you will not be able to fulfill. उसको आप पूरा नहीं कर पाओगे. फिर पूरी दुनिया आपकी निंदा करेगी कि you could not, एक छोटे से ब्राह्मण को आप 3 पदवी 3 steps of land आप नहीं दे पाए. The better is अभी छोड़ दो उसको. वैसे you will not be able, वैसे भी आप पूरा नहीं कर पाओगे तो better है अभी. और निंदा होएगी लेकिन at least आपको अपना your whole kingdom will be yours. So Bali Maharaj hears, वो सुनते हैं जो शुक्राचार्य बोलते हैं और बहुत ध्यान से सुनते हैं because शुक्राचार्य उनके गुरु हैं. गुरु अवज्ञा, हम लोग 10 अपराध कहते हैं हर सुबह. गुरु अवज्ञा एक अपराध है भगवान के, to the Lord. One time I was with Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj in Vancouver, Canada. तो गुरु महाराज ने बताया हम लोग से कि जाओ मंगल आरती के लिए. He told me you can go for the मंगल आरती. उस दिन गुरु महाराज अपनी खुद वर्शिप घर पर कर रहे थे. We had to go somewhere or Maharaj was traveling, so he had to finish his puja early in the morning. So I went for the morning program, attended the morning program. और उसके बाद तुलसी पूजा के पानी देते हम वापस आ गए. तो गुरु महाराज का you attended the morning program? तो मैं कहा yes गुरु महाराज I finished. तो उसका you बहुत जल्दी आ गए. मैं कहा नहीं गुरु महाराज तुलसी जी को हम पानी करके दे करके वापस आ गए. Because you didn't attend you didn't say the 10 offenses against the holy name. So that's also part of the morning program. Right? बहुत important part है of the morning program, saying the 10 offenses against the holy name. So the third offense is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master, right? So Guru Avagya. So very serious offense. अब Bali Maharaj ये सोच रहे कि spiritual master is instructing me something, और I must keep my vow. मैंने अपना व्रत लिया है, पानी हाथ में पकड़ करके उन्होंने ये व्रत लिया है. What should I do? मतलब उनका situation was not easy. तो तब बाली महाराज एक वर्स कहते हैं. Very nice verse, हम आपके लिए पढ़ेंगे. ये 8th canto में है इसका. Okay. So सबसे पहले बली महाराज बोलते, कौन थे बली महाराज? Who was he in relationship to another great personality? He was the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. He says, I am the grandson of Maharaj Prahlad. How can I withdraw my promise because of greed for money when I have already said that I shall give this land? How can I behave like an ordinary cheater, especially toward a Brahmana? There's nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Because of this, Mother Earth once said, धरती माता क्या बोलती है आपको मालूम होगा? क्या बोलती हैं? Very nice. I cannot bear any heavy thing except a person who is a liar. इतनी भारी भारी चीज है धरती माता पर, राइट? बड़े बड़े पर्वत हैं, बिल्डिंग्स हैं, हाथी हैं, घोड़ा है, एवरीथिंग. लेकिन वो कहते हैं सब चीज हम, आई कैन बेयर एवरीथिंग except a person who is a liar. I do not fear hell, poverty, an ocean of distress, fall down from my position, or even death itself, as much as I fear cheating a Brahmana. तो ये बहुत फेमस वर्स है श्रीमद् भागवतम का. न ह्यस्त्यत्परो धर्म इति होवाच भूरियम सर्वं शोधुम मलं मन्ये ऋतेलीका परम नरम. There's nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Because of this, Mother Earth once said, I can bear anything except a person who is a liar. On the surface of the earth, there are many great mountains and oceans that are very heavy, and Mother Earth has no difficulty carrying them. But she feels very much overburdened when she carries even one person who is a liar. It is said that in Kali Yuga, lying is a common affair. Mayaiva vyavaharika. Even in the most common dealings, people are accustomed to speaking so many lies. No one is free from the sinful reactions of speaking lies. Under the circumstances, one can just imagine how this has overburdened the earth and indeed the entire universe. तो यहाँ पर लिखा गया है कि इस कलयुग में इतने लोग झूठा बोलते हैं, तो इसलिए इस कलयुग में धरती माता के पास कितना भार है, has so much weight, and इसलिए ये सब earthquakes, floods, ये सब चीज़ होते हैं. So Bali Maharaj, he speaks to his spiritual master and says कि in this situation I cannot fulfill your instruction. Right? At the end of this purport, Prabhupada mentions that there are 18 principles of knowledge. वो 18 जो 18 भाग है विद्या के, ये 13वें चैप्टर में बताया गया, हम लोग पढ़ेंगे. उसके अंदर से एक है surrender to the spiritual master. लेकिन in this case, Bali Maharaj understood that in this case, the problem was his own material happiness. He was being asked to lie not for the service of the Lord, but for his own material happiness. That therefore Bali Maharaj could understand that in this situation, I will not speak a lie. and he speaks the truth, and he fulfills his promise to Vamandev. And then हम लोग जानते हैं ये कथा, Vamandev becomes very, very large, he becomes very huge, and with 2 steps he covers all the 3 planetary systems. फिर the Lord says, where should I keep my 3rd step? अब शुक्राचार्य वो त्रिकालदर्शी थे, लेकिन उनको ये नहीं मालूम था कि भक्त कितना उनको मतलब he could not predict what the devotee will do, right? So he did not know that Bali Maharaj does not lie, he fulfills his promise. So before he decides, before Krishna gives Bali Maharaj the intelligence on what to do, then all the demigods are there, Prahlad Maharaj is there, everyone is there, and they're looking at Bali Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj begins to speak, and he begins to chastise Bali Maharaj. He says, my dear Lord, this, my grandson, he's a liar, he's not fulfilling his promise. The other Brahma, Shiva, all those, they also begin to speak that how is this possible that a person in the descendant, the descendant of Prahlad Maharaj is not able to fulfill his promise. And then Krishna gives his devotee transcendental intelligence. And he says, please my Lord, keep your 3rd step on my head. And this will fulfill my vow. Srila Prabhupada explains that the possessor of something is greater than what he possesses. So because Bali Maharaj possessed the 3 worlds, his head, he himself was greater than the 3 worlds. Therefore, though unka sir bahut chota tha, it was still enough space. It was still proper for Bali Maharaj, for the Lord to keep his head there. The Lord keeps his head on Bali Maharaj's head, and in this way becomes very satisfied. So what was the result? Bali Maharaj fulfilled his promise, he fulfilled his vow. What was the result? The result was, Srimad Bhagavatam explains, that the Lord became so happy with Bali Maharaj that he decided to become Bali Maharaj's own attendant. Right? He gave him an abode and he said that I will become your own bodyguard, your own attendant. He became the doorkeeper of Bali Maharaj. This is how pleased the Lord was by his fulfillment. Haribol. So this is the vratam, the vow of a devotee. Right? A devotee is so fixed in his vow, and it's his vow that makes him so glorious. Srila Prabhupada, therefore, he said that he gave us a promise, right? He said that if we fulfill our promise, Prabhupada said, if you fulfill your promise, that every day you'll chant your 16 rounds and you follow your 4 regulated principles every day, then Srila Prabhupada said, I promise that I will take you back home, back to Godhead, right? So, this is the promise, the power of fulfilling the vow. We make a promise in front of the fire, in front of the Guru. This is a promise that we make. If we fulfill that promise, then the devotee, the spiritual master promises, I'll take you back home, back to Godhead. Now, it's such a easy thing in some ways. Just 2 hours a day, 16 rounds, following 4 regulated principles. Lekin it's not easy, because fulfilling it, the vow throughout our life is not easy. Lekin if we do it, then Krishna becomes so pleased. Other Vaishnavas also in our tradition fulfill their vow. Another example is Bhishma Dev, very good example, right? That Parusharam, he was telling Bhishma Dev that you break your vow and you marry who? Amba. You marry Amba and you break your vow. Like in Bhishma Dev, he sticks to his vow. Therefore, he was known as Bhishma. Right? And he doesn't marry Amba. He's even to the point of fighting with his spiritual master. Again, the issue here was his own material enjoyment. So he decided, nay, keeping my vow is more important than anything else. Now there's also instances in the scriptures when a devotee is asked to break his vow. Right? So we must keep our vow to the Lord, our sacred vow. Lekin there's also times when we must break our vow for the pleasure of the Lord. Who is the best example of this? Maharaj Yudhishthira. Yes, Maharaj Yudhishthira. He is asked to break his vow of truthfulness. Why? For the service of the Lord. For the service of the Lord, the devotee can break his vow, but not for himself. For himself, he must always fulfill what the Lord desires him to do. So this is the quality, this is the beauty of a devotee of the Lord, that he is very fixed, and we must take instruction from this, from the different scriptures. We must think about this, that how important, how significant is the devotee's vow. So the devotee actually, Prabhupada explains, gets extraordinary power, extraordinary empowerment to serve the Lord by fulfilling his vow. So here, in the last sentence of this purport, Srila Prabhupada says there are 18 processes for attaining knowledge and perfection. So what are these 18 processes of attaining knowledge? This is given in the Bhagavad Gita. Amanitvam adambhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham stairyam vinigraha indriyartheshu vairagyam ahankara ahankaran anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam asaktiranabhishvanga putradara grihadishu nityam cha samachitvam ishtanishtopatishu mayi chanyanya yogena bhaktiravyabhicharini viviktadesha sevitvam aratir janasangsadi adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnanartha darshanam etajnanam iti proktam ajnanam yadato nyatha. So what is the first principle? Here Prabhupada says, process of knowledge. Amanitvam, humility. So Prabhupada in one place he says, therefore we can understand that a person who is humble has a lot of knowledge. The first quality of humility is knowledge. And what is the first quality of ignorance? The first quality of an ass, Prabhupada says, is pride. Right? So if someone is proudful, then he's not very learned. So humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth, all these I declare to be knowledge. And besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he explains that of these 18 principles of knowledge, what is the most important of these 18? Acharya Upasana. Yes, approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Because by approaching a bona fide spiritual master, following the instructions of the spiritual master, all other 17 become manifest. All other 17 become manifest. So, the first principle of knowledge is accepting the spiritual master. Now, the last point here that Prabhupada is making such nice points in this purport. Well, two other points. One point here is that Prabhupada is describing that how in this verse, Karda Muni accepts the vow of silence, and he travels over the surface of the earth as a sannyasi, devoid of any relationship with fire or shelter. So, Prabhupada describes that a sannyasi is generally detached from fire and any residential quarters. A sannyasi does not light any fire, and he does not live in any quarters. In one place, Prabhupada explains that sannyas means that sannyas is that this sannyasi has made the whole world his family. The whole world is his home. He does not claim that one place is his home or one person is his family. Again, he treats the whole world as his family, and this is the stage of sannyas. So there's 4 stages of sannyas. The first one is Kutichaka. This is the stage of sannyas where a person has just taken sannyas after Vanaprastha. They're living outside of the village, and they have a residential quarters, and their family is bringing them food. So it's the transition stage. The second stage is Bahudaka, where the sannyasi is traveling and preaching Krishna consciousness. He's going from door to door and begging food. He's still begging food, lekin he's not living in one particular place. He's not taking food from his family. The third stage is Parivrajagacharya, which is just traveling and preaching, not begging any food, depending completely upon the mercy of the Lord. And the final 4th stage is Paramahansa. Right? So all these 4 stages are there, different stages of sannyas. Like Krishna says in the Gita, what does Krishna say in the Gita? What is the true definition of sannyas? Who knows? Yes. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti ya sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragniya na chakriya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life. And he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. भगवान यहाँ कह रहे हैं कि सन्यासी वो नहीं है जो कि केवल दुनिया को छोड़ देता है और किसी अग्नि को नहीं जलाता है, लेकिन सन्यासी वो है जो कार्य करता है इस दुनिया में, लेकिन he is not attached to the fruits of his work. वो कर्म फल से आसक्त नहीं है, वो भगवान को दे देता है सब चीज़, अपने जीवन को समर्पित कर देता है. That is true sannyas. So therefore, a grahastha can also be a sannyasi. A vanaprastha can also be a sannyasi. A brahmachari can also be a sannyasi. True sannyas is offering everything to the Lord. That is true sannyas. Of course, giving up these things is very helpful, and therefore, ek aur shlok hai Bhagavatam mein where it says that the sannyasi who travels around the world unattached is the highest devotee. Kyun? Because they have purposely given up this material world. Lekin just by not lighting a fire, one does not become an advanced devotee. Just like in the Jewish tradition, there's a tradition that on Sunday the Lord rested. It's called Sabbath. So on Sunday they don't light any fire. This is also their tradition. They just, it's a day for the Lord. So they don't light any fire. There's no cooking in the house. Or lighting fire also means there's no electricity. So they don't switch on the lights. जो light जलाते हो तो उसमें आग है. Electricity is fire. So Radhanath Maharaj, he remembers as a Jewish boy, I think उन्होंने बताया, someone who was a Jewish person described कि on that day they would not light any fire. So one Jewish family, they were living on the 20th floor, something, a high-rise building in New York. So on that day they would not light any fire, no electricity. So they would not take the elevator. Because the elevator, where you have to press the button, you light the fire, you burn this electricity. So on that day, 20 stories they would climb, and 20 stories they would walk down. Aisa karke, they walk down, climb 20 stories. Because the principle was that on that day you don't light any fire. So Maharaj was making the point, what is the use of renunciation like this, right? We're going 20 stories high, burning inside, right? But this is just a ritual, we don't light any fire. In the same way, Prabhupada here is saying, कि the sannyasi may externally give up lighting a fire, कि हम कुछ गाड़ी में नहीं बैठेंगे, कोई electricity नहीं जलाएंगे. लेकिन is this true renunciation? No, renunciation is yukta vairagya, right? Engaging the Lord's energy in the Lord's service, that is true renunciation. Similarly, the final point here in this purport, Prabhupada is describing that someone may artificially say कि हम कुछ बोलेंगे नहीं, मौन ले लिया, because they don't want to light any, no exertion, they कुछ बोलने नहीं चाहते तो मौन व्रत. लेकिन true मौन व्रत is what? The constant glorification of the holy name of Krishna. True मौन व्रत is the constant chanting of Krishna's holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When we take the name of the Lord, then that is true mona. And that is true sannyas, right? Dedicating our life to Krishna's service. So, I'll stop here. Is there any questions, comments? You can give them now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you so much for such wonderful class, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, as you explained at the later portion of the class, that the real renunciation means the one with the yukta vairagya. But Prabhuji, generally, as we see that in devotee circle, this is the most commonly misused term.
Yes.
People, they generally do not have vairagya even, and they pose themselves to be yukta vairagi. And even many senior leaders also teaches the devotees such principles prematurely. So then what balance should a sadhaka, a nicely practicing devotee who is struggling with the senses, should maintain, so that his sense gratification does not goes under this shelter of yukta vairagya?
Yes. Very nice question. So Prabhupada gave the example. He said that when we have to feed a child a very bitter medicine, we put it in a sugar coating. And therefore in our preaching, we can emphasize yukta vairagya. Because if we emphasize too much vairagya, so people will run away. So, mujhe sab cheez chhodna padega, Even the Western countries, when we preach, we don't tell them you have to give up meat. We don't give them any of the regulative principles. We just say, you just chant. Whatever talent you have, you use in Krishna's service. And then gradually through chanting and serving, in their heart, vairagya arises, naturally, right? Naturally arises. So this is Prabhupada's process. Ki in the beginning, we cannot give up eating food, we cannot eat less. So we eat very tasty food, like we eat Krishna prasadam. So that is yukta vairagya, right? We eat very tasty food. Others, we engage people in eating Krishna prasadam, and they're enjoying their senses in one way, like they're purifying their senses by eating Krishna prasad. Actually, one statement of Prabhupada, he says that if you make this one vow, speaking of vrata, that in my life I will only eat Krishna prasad, he says you'll go back home back to Godhead, right? So, yes, so even that is very difficult to make that vow for most people. So the point is, for others, we package it nicely so that they are encouraged in their Krishna consciousness. They're not discouraged. But for ourselves, we practice vairagya very strictly. That the example is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita, right, of Raghunath Das Goswami, and how Lord Chaitanya says that he has purchased me by his renunciation, by his austerity. Lord Chaitanya was so happy with him. So for ourselves, we practice vairagya, and by seeing our own example, others become inspired. They actually become very inspired. If we preach vairagya, then they will feel discouraged. Actually, we had some bhakti vriksha, And we were telling this family कि आप आपके बच्चों का birthday है, don't give them this cake, बाहर का cake, cook cake yourself. And they came back and said, Prabhu ji, आप इतना ये सब, we cannot do all this. I'm sorry, we cannot do all this. So they even left for some time. They became too discouraged. So Prabhupada said, we emphasize the positive process, the higher taste. And then naturally they'll give up the lower taste. Now even for ourselves, Prabhupada has said that renunciation is not the means of purification, but it's the result of purification. So it's also the means. We have to renounce some things, but ultimately it's not the means of purification, it's the result of purification. Matlab ki, the purification is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. The purification is the service. The purification is the reading of scriptures. So the devotee who's very expert, he more and more engages them in these activities so they don't have time for material activities. So much they're engaged and absorbed in this, they have no time. जैसे एक बहुत rich आदमी आया था, wealthy person came and spoke with Guru Maharaj, and he said कि he was going to donate something, लेकिन he said कि I have also some desire. You say this much for ISKCON, this much for me, and I want this, and I want to do this like this. So this is my plan, and I want to fix this with, give this to ISKCON and do ISKCON's plan. So is this okay? I want your permission. I was thinking, Guru Maharaj, what will he say? He said this, you should give selflessly this. And Guru Maharaj said, no problem. I like your plan. Approved. Go ahead and do it. Well, he could understand the level of a person and say, and encourage him from that level. Okay, at least now he'll give 50% to Krishna. He's not giving 100%, like at least he'll give his 50% to Krishna. So the devotee inspires Vairagya by pushing the person one step further. This is where he is at, let me push him to renounce this much. And this is chapter 12 of the Gita, right? Where Krishna is saying, if you cannot work for me, then at least give up the results of your activities for me. If you cannot do that, then at least give some fruits of your action to me. So Krishna is gradually teaching Vairagya. Give more, and more. Finally, one day you'll give everything to Krishna. Yes. So that's, lekin, good point, very nice point. Ki we, as devotees for ourselves, we should not use Yukta Vairagya as a excuse for enjoying our senses.
Hare Krishna Guruji, thank you so much for this class. I have two small questions.
Yes.
The first question is, it's said that activities of Lord and devotees can't be predicted. But Shukracharya predicted Lord's activity, that he is going to take away everything. But he could not predict the activity of a devotee Bali Maharaj, that he will be surrendering himself to the Lord completely. So how to understand this?
Yeah. Prabhupada says that it's impossible to understand the mind of a pure devotee. Therefore, we should not speculate, actually. Kyun the devotee is acting in this way? Why is he doing this? And this is actually this is one of the principles of knowledge, right? Accepting the spiritual master. We cannot understand why the devotee performs certain things in certain ways. Even we may be able to understand what the Lord is doing. Even that Bhishmadev tells Maharaj Yudhishthira ki everything is the plan of the Lord, and he says the Lord's plan is perfect, but he says, but we cannot understand the plan of the Lord. He says, you cannot understand it, you must surrender to it. But even someone may know, like Shukracharya, he was able to predict the Lord's activities, lekin one cannot understand the mind of a pure devotee. Therefore, our process is that we try to please the pure devotee, regardless if it makes, obviously within common sense, regardless if it makes sense to us or not. Basic common sense has to be there. Prabhupada said we should never give up our common sense. A devotee pleases the spiritual master even if it seems like, fulfills the instruction of the spiritual master, even if it seems like that instruction is not the best strategy for preaching Krishna consciousness. Because just to please the spiritual master, when the devotee is pleased, then the Lord will be pleased and everything will be fulfilled. Because when the devotee is pleased, he has some purpose. And we don't know some purpose very far in the future that will become fulfilled. by the mercy of the Lord, he has something that we cannot understand. Just like Srila Prabhupada, supported this farm community, New Vrindavan, right? America mein, New Vrindavan in West Virginia. And during Prabhupada's time, this was like completely wilderness. This is like, even cavemen would not go there. Freezing cold, nothing. They were just thinking, why we're here? Again, now today, it's like one of the most popular tourist destinations. Thousands of people are going to New Vrindavan. So Prabhupada could see so far out in the future. No one could understand his mind. But the disciples still tried to please him, and therefore, they were so successful. So much success is there. Similarly, there's one example. One time, it's a nice example that clarified for me also a very important point. That one time, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he was preaching in Ohio. This is a state in Ohio. So he went there and he was preaching he went there to do preaching programs. So there was a small center there. So when he went there, the devotees were complaining to him. He said, not many people come to the Sunday program. Sunday program mein zyada log nahi aa rahe. So what should we do? Not much success is there. So Maharaj said, have you gone on Sankirtan? Do you go out on Sankirtan and book distribution? The devotee said, nay, we're not going much out on Sankirtan. This is okay, let's go out on Sankirtan, and then hopefully more people will come. So devotee said, we did go up in the past Sankirtan, Maharaj. We weren't sure it's effect hoega result. So anyway, he said, no, let's go out to Sankirtan. So they went, they did Sankirtan. The next day, Maharaj gave the class, Sunday class, and there's so many devotees there, pura hall bhar gaya. So then Maharaj gave the class, and at the end of the class, he asked the audience, he said, so how many of you came to the Sunday class because you received a flyer or saw us doing Harinam? So he said, raise your hand. If you came as a result of that, raise your hand. So just like one person in the audience raised his hand. I came as a result of that. So then afterwards, Maharaj told the devotees, he said, see, the people did not come because we went out and did Harinam and Sankirtan. Because the people came because we tried to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's desire. He wanted us to distribute books. This was his heart and soul. And to do Harinam Sankirtan. Because we tried to do that, then Krishna within the heart inspired people that you go to the temple and you will come, right? So, therefore, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, our Guru Maharaj, all the great devotees, they emphasize so much. Even though from our material estimation it seems this is not the right strategy or something. But they emphasize so much what Srila Prabhupada wanted, book distributions, Harinam, all these things. Even though we have such big other things to do, but no, do book distribution. Because they know that it is by trying to please the spiritual master, the success comes. And in 2 days ago in his class in Gurgaon, Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj was saying that all of our temples, he said, are built because of Sankirtan, because of book distribution. Even though externally it seems they're built because of this or that, but they're being built because we're trying to please Prabhupada and fulfill his mission. In the same way for us, the instruction of the spiritual master, we may feel is right or wrong, but if we try to fulfill it, we'll get success. Therefore, it doesn't matter so much. The Guru is not so concerned, is this the right decision or wrong decision? They know that if the devotees tries to fulfill it, then the success will come. Why? Because Krishna will be pleased by our effort, that we're trying to serve the spiritual master. And then he'll give success. So, yes, we cannot understand the mind of a pure devotee, but we must try to fulfill their instructions.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very beautiful explanation you gave. And our second question is that you said that every can be a sannyasi if he gives us the result of his activities to the Lord. So why there is a need of individual this ashram sannyasi? If in brahmachari also can be a sannyasi, grahastha can also be a sannyasi, and vanprastha can. So why there is this particular ashram?
And that is the first part that we talked about, the vratam, right? The power of the vow. So yes, everyone can be a sannyasi. By their sannyas means mind, body and words dedicated to Krishna. So a man can be a sannyasi, a woman can be a sannyasi, a child can be a sannyasi, grihastha can be sannyasi. Sannyas means mind, body and word, three dandi, right? Fully dedicated. So any person who's fully dedicated to Krishna, mind, body and words, they are sannyasi. But the practical reality is that we have difficulty doing that. So by taking the vow of sannyas, the vratam, and fulfilling that vow, Krishna becomes very pleased.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
वहाँ पर एक क्वेश्चन है प्रभु जी के पास.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you made a point that since it's the wish of the Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas that we should do book distribution in Harinam. So one of the ways, like you physically go outside and do on the streets Harinam and book distribution. But in the present situation, if we see like there are other ways also which are maybe more practical in terms of the energy as well as the extent to which we can go. For example, the social media is there where some of the devotees feel it is a better way to preach as compared to going out in the street. So what do you feel about that view?
So the focus should be distribution of books, because this was the desire of Srila Prabhupada. He said we should distribute books. But Prabhupada said that we can find new and novel ways to distribute books. So through online preaching, house programs, street sankirtan. At the same time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself and Srila Prabhupada, they showed by their example, door to door. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, every door they're knocking. Please take the name of the Lord. Please chant the name of the Lord. So street sankirtan is especially, we especially get a lot of mercy when we do that. Because there's a special sacrifice, to stand on the street and people mistreat, but still we are distributing. So we should find new and novel ways. Lekin Prabhupada says this process, we don't also have to find new. He gave us the process. This is the most effective. My own experience in preaching in America is that we tried so many methods of preaching. Like, this preaching, that preaching, all these preaching. Like in that form of preaching that makes the most number of devotees is book distribution, one-to-one, on the street. This makes the most number of devotees. Because Krishna sends people. The people we meet, it's just like amazing. We meet people elsewhere, we invite them to the program, wo log nahi ठहरेंगे, wo chale जाते हैं. Lekin the people we meet on book distribution, somehow they stay. They're very attracted. Because Krishna will send people. So, lekin also social media, very nice. In every way we can do. Lekin our own experience will show that if we just try to follow the example of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of Srila Prabhupada, then we will get every type of success. Yes.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for a wonderful lecture on the principle of the vow. Prabhuji, what happened while taking the initiation, we are taking vow in front of the spiritual master and deities and the demigod. But after some time, we try to completely convince by mind for breaking the vow. So we try to give some practical example, practical tips so we can follow the vow.
This is why the association of the spiritual master is so important. Because the association reminds us the heaviness of our vows. Right? When we associate with the spiritual master, hear from him, the Guru Maharaj, almost every other class he'll emphasize, ki don't give up the chanting of your 16 rounds. This is your most important service. Kyun? Because he knows ki we made the vow. If we fulfill the vow, then Prabhupada has promised he'll take us back home, back to Godhead. That's the goal. Kyun hum log in the seva kar? Ultimately to please the spiritual master Krishna. So they're most pleased by this. So we must remind ourselves. This is why Krishna consciousness is a package. This is why it is a package. Prabhupada ji ne kaha 16 mala 4 regulated principles. So I can do my 16 rounds, but sare din I can enjoy. Right? Just 4 niyam nahi tode, 16 mala kar le, phir the rest of the day I can, just relax, have fun. Lekin why we have to serve also, why we have to read these books also, why we have to preach also. Because these are the things that remind us that we must fulfill our vow. Why we have to associate with devotees. Because it's that association that keeps us chanting. So Krishna consciousness is given as a process, as a package. And all parts are important. Therefore, in this purport, mein inna Prabhupada ji likha hai, so many deep points, such a nice purport. He quotes Maharaj Ambarish, Savai mana Krishna padara vindayor, vachangsi vaikuntha gunanu varnane. That how Ambarish Maharaj engaged all of his senses in the Lord's service. Because only in our conditioned state, only when we engage all of our senses, then we will be able to remember Krishna. जैसे जब हम लोग ब्रह्मभूत स्टेज पे हो जाते हैं, एडवांस स्टेज पे, सत्व गुण पे, वी आर शुद्ध सत्व स्टेज, फिर हम लोग सारे दिन माला कर सकते हैं एंड वी विल बी अब्जॉर्ब्ड. या हम लोग सारे दिन भागवतम पढ़ सकते हैं, या सारे दिन हम लोग एक काम कर सकते हैं. लेकिन until we are liberated, Prabhupada says we need many services to engage our mind in Krishna's consciousness. So we must read, because the reading reminds us. We must attend Bhagavatam class every day, because the class reminds us. We must eat Krishna prasadam. So all of these things help us keep our vows. They give us the strength. Yes. Okay, so stop here. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Right. His Grace Gopal Hari Prabhu ji ki jai. So we are very, very thankful and grateful to Gopal Hari Prabhu for taking out his time, precious time, and spending this morning with us. Gopal Prabhu is very, very senior devotee since his very childhood, not even childhood, since the womb. He has been a devotee, and we have seen him, years after years, both children of Aruda Mataji and Prabhuji, how they have really practiced, how they have shown all of us the example of an exemplary devotee and also example of an exemplary disciple. So we request Prabhuji to please visit us more frequently and bestow your mercy upon all of us. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
I think all of you are bestowing your mercy on me. And even to this day, I'm still trying to be a devotee. So I feel so grateful for your association. Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.